re-uploaded on my second channel. We do this wonderful replay commentary with our recurring guest that came many times over. You can now present yourself again.
Hey everyone, it's kantbei here. I'm a pretty fairly high-ranked fog player, primarily known for like pioneering really stupid openings that work.
It's true. If you missed the video, past video with kantbei, just look around, you will find a lot of them. And he is really great at crazy opening. So why this map?
It's I don't want to say fairly new because like it's been in the global league rotation before, but it got taken out for a while, so it's like back in the global league right now. It's also like one of my favorite maps. I think like it's really interesting because this is one of the few fog maps where I think naval is actually like potentially good here. Like getting a battleship or a carrier in like the mid to late game is not crazy to me. And like there's a lot of like interactions in the mid game that make it dynamically interesting.
That's interesting, I like that take. I just wish they were more playable, like cruisers, sub, and stuff. It's really sad. Like, I think most of Global League maps, they just don't let you play well with navals. And this is so sad. I will cry. Yeah, why did you choose tier 2?
Primarily because like we've done a lot of like tier 3 videos in the past. I think like tier 2 we haven't done that many. So just so like give your viewers some diversity, right? And in this map like tier 2, I think like both Eagle and Olaf have good ideas. It's not like some maps where everyone just picks like the same CO. So like there's some okay diversity here for like tier 2 at least. So it's not too bad. Tier 3 and I think tier 4, I think there are clear best picks, which is why like it's less of a, those are less good tiers in my opinion from a competitive standpoint.
That's interesting. Now, what do you think about the Olaf and Eagle dynamic?
So Eagle and Olaf are very interesting in Fog. They're both late game COs, obviously. So like, one is not clearly better than the other in the late game. I would say like Eagle is like a better mid game CO now rather than like super late game like Olaf is. So the usual dynamic you'll see in the early game is Eagle and Olaf are racing to like the first SCOP timing. Most games Olaf will get it first because like Winter Fury is like 2 bars shorter than Eagle, which is 9 bars. But if Eagle can somehow manage to get his superpower first, then he just wins the game on the spot. And he can do that through like sacking some copters, right? The other thing is like the reason Eagle can do this is because if Eagle pops his power at the end of his turn, he's fine. Olaf is also fine, but usually he prefers to pop his power at the start or in the middle rather than at the very end. Because like when he pops his power, the -2 HP actually like it's not just that. It's not just the slow, but it's because like at 8 HP, a lot of attacks which aren't possible before suddenly become very possible. Right? So that's why like Olaf generally wants to pop his power earlier on, but like if he's forced to pop it at the end, he's fine. So it's kind of like an interesting race there. So Olaf has to be careful here not to give Eagle too much value in the early game without trading, where Eagle can just go from like a really low power bar to like full SCOP in like 1 turn, and then suddenly just kills you, right? And like the game's over.
Yeah.
So after like the first SCOPs are done, Olaf will usually get his second Winter Fury first. And then in that kind of board state, the dynamic kind of like resets back to 0. And it's a race again between Olaf trying to get his 3rd Winter Fury versus Eagle getting his 2nd Lightning Strike. And it's like that same dynamic with the first Lightning Strike versus the first Winter Fury all over again. Like you're just racing to see who gets it first.
Yeah.
I would say like after the 2nd Lightning Strike, if Eagle is not won, I think like the game becomes much harder. He's probably now losing strategically. He needs like some kind of income advantage now, because what I've found is like if you get to like 4, 5, 6 Winter Furies, Lightning Strike does not scale as well, and like you'll just get attrition to death. Even if you have like the same income, you'll get attrition to death. So you can't win late game versus Olaf necessarily.
Yeah, I think Eagle like late game is clearly better because he will just outnumber pretty much everyone.
Yeah, most COs this is true. The issue with like fighting mass damage is Eagle, and especially like Olaf, right? Is like first of all, obviously like the snow slows down Eagle so much. Like you can't optimize your lightning strike. The
Yeah,
second thing is like if you eat two Winter Furies in a row, a bunch of 6 HP tanks, even if you move twice, that just means you die twice faster, right? Like 6
yeah.
HP tank into 10 HP tank is like always losing. You never win that trade. So it does like it doesn't matter, right? So like Eagle wants to have like at least like 8 HP tanks at worst, right, to like take these lightning strike engagements. If Eagle has a bunch of like 6 HP tanks, even if it's like 20 tanks and you have 10, you still win that fight. Like every first strike he takes just dies.
Even if this map is quite big, do you think Max still stand a chance there, or is really awful?
No, Max is completely awful here. I don't think like he has any ideas. It's just too big, right? Like there's too much income. Olaf for sure murders Max here. Eagle stands some chance, but I think Olaf is maybe slightly favored, but still like reasonably even game. But Max, like what does he do here, right? Like he takes one side and then the enemy backs off, they trade off corners maybe. And like all of that can be forced interactions if you play correctly. And then, suddenly like the unit value is like 200,000. Like what does Max do then? And
And I
then
think
like if the opponent really wants to like
I think Max is just awful in general, but based on what you say, he's like worse than that map.
yeah, on like big maps he's like really much worse. And like in this one it's not so open, right? Like in Stalingrad, that's super high income, but it's also super open. So like at least he has like some ideas, right? Like he can SCOP to like killing a bunch of things maybe. But here like it's the map is not that open. Like there's a lot of barriers and like if they just go like battleship to like stall out Max in like a super late game, it's not clear to me how he can exactly break those kinds of positions. Like again, yes, you can get bombers to answer the battleship, and like Eagle Bishop is not the greatest, but all of that is like tempo loss, right? So like every turn, Max is not able to end the game, he's losing, right? That's one way to think about like how Max works.
Yeah,
Every turn he cannot get advantage, he's losing. And on this map, I don't think he can get advantage fast enough.
that's why I think that's an awful seal. So yeah, I think that's enough for the intro. That was quite long, but it's normal. This is the usual long we have. So let's start off. I think you got mouse control. Am I right?
Yeah, I think I do. Okay, so the first few turns here, I think we both just build infantry, right? And then we both put our black. You didn't put your black book in the port. Okay, so this is the first major mistake by you.
Oh,
So
really?
yes, so I think like the first, almost like 3 infantry, you have to rush the cities with your through your black bolt side. You can't do
Okay.
like the normal. Oh, I'll just cap the closest thing first. And this is kind of like a map knowledge thing, but essentially, um, on this map, day 3 recon is like really strong.
Yeah.
Because like a day 3 recon will arrive in this area to like deny the tower by like day 5. Like day 5 it will see tower, day 6 it can hit. So if it can see this, it can also see like a few of these other cities, right? So you have until then to like capture all of these things. Like you have until like day 6. If you don't get your captures by then, the recon will just deny everything and then you're down income throughout the entire opening. Like for you to get a tank here, it takes so long that you'll just be down like I don't know, like this will be delayed, right? This will be delayed. If like worst case scenario, right? Like these 3 cities are delayed, like this city gets delayed, this city gets delayed. You're down like 5k income every turn, whereas your opponent is not, right? And like
Yeah.
that's for every turn until you get a tank. Like tank will easily take like 3 turns to get there. You're down 15k, right? That means they can afford 2 more tanks. You just lose the game. Like what
That's
can you do against plus 2 tanks
disgusting.
opening, right?
Your
Like
your opening is so savage with the recall.
yeah, exactly right. Like if you give your opponent plus 2 tanks in funding, like you just said, okay, my opponent is now Sasha with now has Sasha D to D against me, like better Sasha D to D against me, and they also have like a good superpower. Like, what the hell do you do against that?
But that's I think based on what you just said, I dislike the map more. I don't hate the map, but I think the map got worse based on what you said because you're very
Yeah,
limited on the kind of opening you can do, and there's only like one opening that will always like work best. And I don't really like that, but hey, that's just me, and I understand everyone has their own opinion on pretty much everything. So yeah, I dislike the map more now.
yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I think like the fact that this opening exists is like the worst aspect of the map. And like the map only becomes like interesting after day 5 because then like you have a lot of options of what you want to build, right? Like we can get into that later, but after day 5, like after the double recon opening, then you have like a lot of choices. But like the first 5 turns is all kind of forced.
I feel like if we had a lab instead of the HQ, that would delay the recon, am I right?
Yes, but usually like the funding curve is based on like 3K starting income rather than 2K. So I'm not sure if like they have to change the FTA counter. There's some math involved in that.
We got a very interesting question. I do like it a lot. What about Kindle?
Kindle is very strong here. I think Kindle potentially is tier 2 here. I
Yeah.
haven't done a lot of testing whether like Kindle
It's clear for me. After what they just said, and I see all these building in the center, it's clear for me she is tier 2 in this map.
Yeah, what's not clear to me is like whether Kindle can like consistently fight like Olaf and Eagle. I haven't done enough testing to like know for sure, but I think
Olaf,
she has better
can.
chances than that.
Against Eagle, she can't. Based on experience, Kindle can out damage Olaf at some extent if you're really aggressive and you really take good use of your day-to-day and power. I think she can outnumber Olaf fast because she has a better day-to-day. And now, of course, Winter Fury will just crush Kindle, but if she got a good lead, no Winter Fury shall flip the table. Now, as of Eagle, now I speak a lot about that matchup because I have one of my alternate account. It's Black Hole only, and this means I play a lot of Flash and Kindle because there's no tier 2 COs that is Black Hole. So I played a lot of Kindle versus Olaf and a lot of Kindle versus Eagle, and I can tell she will do worse against Eagle, but she will do better against Olaf. But all goes down to both players, the kind of mistake they do. So I think in this map, right after what the guy said, Kindle, I think Kindle is a good pick in this map.
Yeah, Kindle is like definitely interesting, right? And like the thing with Kindle, like you pointed out correctly, is like the 3 city chain in the center, like the ones side by side, and like the 1 city like next to it, right? That's like 8 cities right there that she can flip quite easily, right? Like if she gets on those cities, like it's impossible to push her out day to day. It's just too hard, right?
And her capture
like
game is kind of strong, and her battlecopter also benefit from that. So she is just really strong.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is like because the number of cities are so high, like I think this is like 27K income on a split map, but Kindle only takes account cities. I think there's like maybe 22 cities per side if you split the map evenly. 22 cities is like fairly important because like that's usually the number of cities where Kindle SCOP starts to become really viable because there are a lot of like kills that she can get, like even off cities. Like she can just get like some one-hit KOs that are disgusting. So at that point, like she becomes like a max without the move boost. But she also has like indirects and all those other things. And she can also use like COP if she wants to, right? So he has like a lot of interesting tactical flexibility.
Yeah, that's interesting to point out. Thank you for the chat, Jose. That was very interesting to break down like Kindle in these cases here.
Alright, so we can go through a couple more turns. So like you can see, like I immediately moved my backbow down. Then it's going to get like 2 more infantry immediately.
The biggest reason why before we like move too far, the biggest reason why Kindle just cannot beat Eagle is Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is just very, very strong, and with Kindle you need to be really fast, and Eagle likes to take it slow, so she cannot really compete with Eagle on that aspect of it.
Yeah, Eagle is like very scary. I think like the key versus Eagle, and this is my experience like fighting a couple of like lower rated Eagles as Jess in a few other, in like one of my alts. You want to force Eagle to like use his Lightning Strike as early as possible. Actually, you don't want to like let Eagle build up at all, And the way you force him is like by taking so much income advantage or like forcing his HQ, and like you pop like the earliest superpower that he can get without like instantly losing the game. You have to like find that fine balance. If you can achieve that, that's step one of beating Eagle, because every subsequent lightning strike Eagle has after the first one is weaker because it takes so much longer. And if you had like any kind of income advantage or like material advantage, any kind of advantage, you'll probably go even after the first lightning strike. But then, like, if you have income especially, you can build up your army much faster, right? Like in StarCraft, they have the turn you can remax your army faster.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. Like you'll just build more vehicles than he can kill, and at a certain point you'll just attrition him down. So like, I fought an Eagle recently. Like, I ate like 4 lightning strikes, but I still won the game because at the end of it, like, he basically had no money left to like keep producing vehicles. It doesn't matter if you move twice. If I have twice your vehicles, you still lose, right?
Yeah.
And like every turn that you don't have lightning strike is a turn I can punish you. So like I just kept trading against him until I won. So it's possible, but I think like the first lightning strike is like the most key interaction in that kind of game. If you can get the first lightning strike off correctly, you have very good chances. If you can't force the issue, the game's over. You can resign.
And that's the thing, like, based on my experience with Eagle, usually your first and second lightning strike are like what determine the ending. If you got like a first bad lightning strike, it doesn't look good for you for the rest of the game. And if you got a second one and you didn't win with the second one, then the game is not looking good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here we can already see like there's significant differences in our cap phase, right? Like, the obviously like I have the recon, and an important note here is like the recon wants to be on this tile specifically. It doesn't want to be here. Because from this tile it can hit this city, we can reach this city in the next turn, and from this city it can see this com tower. It's like all of this has been like masked out. Like if you move to any other tile other than this one with the first recon, you're already like instantly worse off than if you were here. Like, this is just clearly best. Otherwise, like our infantry movements look kind of similar, right? Like we both went for like the forward capture rather than the side city.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense because like from this, it can go here and then it will chain into this quite nicely, or into this. And it can like begin contesting some of the cities with the recon. You don't have like the recon, but you can still contest cities, right? So like it's all fairly natural looking. The primary difference is just like you still like have not moved your B-boat at all here. Like that's probably like the main issue this game you had.
I didn't know that was a crazy opening like that with the recon, but now I know.
I will say like in this position, I don't think you need to move the infantry up into like the B-boat. I think the infantry just always goes here. This B-boat can load 2 infantry already anyway, right? And like this infantry is not actually gonna do anything. Like from here, like what can you capture is this, but there's already an infantry, so it will have to go here. It's like wasted movement, right? So you can just like load these 2 infantry, and then this one can go to the right side to like help captures, and that would be better, I think. So you have like some early funding, right? Like the advantage of what you did is you do have some like early funding because like you didn't skip captures like me. But we're gonna see like in the mid game, like I quickly just like outstrip you, just because of like the opening I did. And then again, like day 5 recon after day 3 is also like theoretically correct. This recon does not have to go to this tile; it can sit here. And we'll go into like the reasons behind that like later on. Like you'll see like how I move my recons. But essentially, like these 2 recons have 2 very different paths. And then, yep. So we see your com tower now. It's still uncapped. That's good news for me. The other thing I'll note is like because like the double recon opening is like so meta, you don't want to like put that much infantry in your B-boat side. Like you want 3 infantry, like maybe 4 infantry early, and then that's it. Like you cut off like ferrying infantry, because like the more infantry you put there, the more targets you give the recon, and like they're not going to be able to capture anything anyway. So there's no point. Like you might as well just take these cities closer to you now.
I think at that point I was just making infantry because I'm like, infantry. Usually,
yeah, this is like...
Usually I don't open with anti-air, but I know you're Eagle, and I know the airport in this map is kind of good, so I'm like anti-air.
Yeah. First, AA here is like actually not crazy to me because like oftentimes what people might do is like they'll get a fast airport and use a copter to defend this area rather than a tank. Because like they're expecting tanks, right? So like first anti-air is not crazy to me. So like maybe take advantage of that. Also like anti-air like kills infantry pretty good, which is like always really nice, right? So this is not crazy to me. The other thing is like delaying your tank build and like building more infantry. I've actually been like experimenting with this a lot. I think like on maps where you can't get pressured very easily in certain areas, this is quite good. So I say like here it doesn't really matter if you build a tank or not because like the recon still gets damage off, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
the recons can't be stopped. This is why it's so good. So it doesn't really matter if like you build a tank here or not early on. But building infantry here like early on means like you have more infantry at the front in the mid game, which gives you kind of like a power timing where you know have some advantage, you have some ideas. So yeah, delaying tank is not crazy here.
Now I will ask you something because you're a top player. We all know it.
Mhm.
The stealth in this map, is it fair? I hate stealth in general, and I feel like they should not belong in Global League at all. But hey, this is a 900 speaking. What's your thought on that?
So I think like stealths are fine on most maps because stealths are honestly not that good. Like there's a lot of counterplay to it. But there are maps where I think like it should be banned, especially like super high income maps. Frostleaf is the one like the most recent one where I thought like it should be banned, but it isn't because the forward airports are really strong there. And then like you have enough income to like start stealth spamming, and then it becomes stupid because like if you both sides like start spamming stealth and like that becomes the meta, then the game is immediately like game over. Like it's just a draw because no one can attack if you have a wall of stealths. Like if both of you wall stealths, no one can attack. Even if you have fighter, I don't think you can fight into that. So it's just impossible to play.
That's
It's not like
funny
clear.
because
Like yeah.
that's funny because as I said, I'm like 900 ish, and I felt like Frostleaf is the only map I feel like they are more fair. But after what you said, I'm kind of scared of it. And that's funny because I thought they were fair because the map is really big and there's two airports, so it's faster to like have the only counter to it, which means the fighter. So I felt like that was like maybe the only map where they are fair, but after what you said, no, they are not. It's crystal clear.
Yeah. Um, the thing that balances stealths out, in my opinion, in like lower income maps, which is like most of the, is that they're so expensive. And honestly, like what is a stealth, right? Like it's not even a bomber. It's like a copter's worth of damage that has recon vision, and then you can't hit it with anything but a fighter.
It
But like
forced a fighter.
honestly, like yeah, it forces a fighter, right? But that it's also like worth 3 tanks, right? Like three and a half tanks, right? So it's like if you're 3.5 tanks down in the mid game, there's a lot of punishment that can be done against you if they are aware that's what's happening, right? And there
Yeah.
are certain fights that can even happen where the stealth does not do enough damage every turn to save your army, and if everything around the stealth dies, the stealth does not save you. It's just game over. Like they just surround the stealth with 4 infantry, watch it run out of fuel, and then they kill everything else. Like that's certainly possible, right? So
Because here's
there's counterplay against it.
here's the thing, there are some games where I'm clearly winning, but one still flipped the table. Because this is how dumb that unit is. Because I was forced into making a fighter, and I was forced into base skipping for it. So this hurt the unit count. And it was able to come back just because instead of fairing tanks and stuff, I was forced into making a fighter. And the fighter was only there for that stupid stealth. And that kind of stuff happens so much, and sometimes like you lose because the guy stealth spam and you're like you don't expect it, so like you're like, oh, I killed the stealth, but then 3 other stealth shows up and you're like, oh man, this. And there are some players that really do stealth spam. Now I speak in the 900 realm, I don't know in higher tiers of players, but when I ping their name, trust me, I'm ready with my freaking fighter. And the most insulting thing is when they say good game after spamming stealth. In my mind, it's like, no, 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 it's not good game.
Yeah, I mean, that probably means like you didn't have as much material advantage as you had, or like you didn't punish it correctly. So like with correct play, but this is like obviously like very high level stuff. With correct play, like stealth spam is like almost always losing. Like one might be good two maybe if you're Grim, right? But like if you build like more than two, like I don't see like how you can win the game. Like it's just super
Dude,
hard. They run out of fuel. You also need
dude.
APC.
The last time I played this map on Global League, that was like back in November, I think, when I started Global League. That was one of the first few games where I was like, I want to prove my point stealth should be banned. And I started spamming stealth in this map. I steamrolled my opponent really hard. And I felt sorry and bad about it.
I mean, that might just be like your opponent not knowing how to play around it, right? And like, I do like hear your point. There is like some knowledge gap issues there, but at the same time, I will say like, you know, is stealth like really that much worse than people who spam Neo tanks immediately and like build no tanks at all, or like spam
To be
bombers?
honest,
Like,
I'd rather
to me, it's kind
I'd
of the
rather
same.
see Niatang than a freaking stealth because I know the Niatang will die from something. The stealth, there's only one thing to kill it: a freaking fighter.
Yeah, that's true. Or it running out of fuel.
But if
Which
you
is like,
run out of fuel with your stealth, you did something wrong.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, okay, so like there is a B boat here on the HQ, which makes like stealth slightly better,
Yeah.
admittedly. But like on most maps, you will need an APC, and if the APC gets sniped, chances are the stealth is already dead. It's on a timer. Like it just has to like get as much damage in. It can't be saved. Like there's no way like it drains so much fuel. Like after 4 turns of being stealth, like it will start crash. It will already crash, I think.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really like have that much ability to operate outside of like a support army. So like if you just spam stealth and like there are not enough tanks to defend your APC or defend your infantry or like all of this, your unit count will dwindle. And essentially like it's the same counter to like, you know, why is MD spam bad, right? Against like tank spam? Because the tanks will just kill all your infantry and then like the MDs alone don't save you. It's kind of like the same thing, just slightly different, I think.
I think the tanks have so many things that can kill them. Like, that's my biggest issue with the stealth. You just cannot kill this shit.
All right, so here, the moment like I saw like your B boat is just arriving now, and like none of these are captured, I kind of already knew like you didn't like rush the B boat here, so like you have no infantry actually. That means like the entire game is like just completely won for me now. Like I was already very confident at this point. You don't really have a lot of counterplay in the mid game if you do this because like you're just down income. Like we can already see, right? Like I'm already like at 10k to 9k.
Yeah.
You're not gonna finish capping anything, and this difference in like capping will just get bigger as time goes on. It doesn't get better for you.
Yeah.
Also, like you never get tower, and I get my tower because like you don't have a recon here. So it's just like, you know, there's so many like things that are gonna go horribly wrong soon.
But at least now I know, and since I've seen that Savage opening, I'm doing it all the time. But I didn't know about rushing the black boat early, fast like that. On my next few game, I will do that for sure. But yeah, after seeing that Savage Raycon opening, I was like, I will do it myself.
Yeah. And then here, like I get so here I think in the actually go back to like the start of my turn. I think like this turn is like the most interesting build wise because like again like the double recon open is forced, right? But from this point on, you have a lot of choices. So you can go copter inf, right? Like triple copter into like triple infantry. That's
Yeah.
one way you can play.
With
You can do
Eagle,
what I
it's
did,
kind
which
of
is, like,
good because you're Eagle.
yeah, it's pretty good. My preferred opening is like the artillery double infantry T-copter. So we have to like kind of go into like the mid-game discussion a little on like why T-copter is good, right? Very commonly in like black boat maps, this one included, you will often find a scenario where if you're not playing with a game plan in mind, what will end up happening is like you have a lot of infantry on the black boat side, but you don't have any vehicles. Like it's very few tanks. And you'll have so many tanks on the other side, but you don't have any infantry. And like that's simply not how you want to play the game, right? Like you want to have one side where all your vehicles and like most of your infantry are, so you can win a fight, and when you win the fight, the infantry can then capture. If you have too few infantry, what they can do is suicide all their infantry into yours, run away, and then your vehicles are like staring at an empty space, and like you can't pressure anything. Like you can't take cities, you can't take com tower, you can't threaten anything because there's no infantry. Infantry is the one that creates pressure. Vehicles don't create pressure; they buy space, right? So
Yeah.
the helicopter opening makes it so that you have a lot of infantry naturally streaming towards the side where you have vehicles, and makes it so like your plan is to fight here. You can of course like make vehicles like and like go down here and fight here. That's certainly possible, and that's a different opening. So in that kind of scenario, what you want to do is actually rush a lander on this map. You rush a lander before a vehicle, and then you start ferrying vehicles here every turn. And like that's much better than like just building tanks here and like going down here slowly. Um, I'm not sure if like that's actually like better than like the T-copter opening I do. I think it isn't personally, but I also like haven't experimented a lot with like the lander, so maybe it is actually good. People just haven't figured out how to do it correctly. So yeah, we'll go through my turn really quick again, like normal capture stuff.
And I think
T-copter
another good
infantry.
thing about that transport copter, you can actually use mechs now. Mechs are actually trash usually, but now because you got that transport, mechs are an option.
Yeah, mechs are an option. Although usually, like, I will get mechs. I will usually transport them to this side if I were to get any. But usually I don't. Like, I'm usually like accepting like, okay, this side I'm not gonna have that much here. Like, some infantry, maybe one tank to like scare away a recon. That's it. Like, that's as much commitment as I'm willing. If it falls, it falls. Anyway, my plan is I win this side faster than this side falls. So that's already like already from like day 7, I already know like, oh, this is my plan. Like, if this falls, it's okay. Here we can see like why the recon parked here instead of here, like unlike the first one. So the job of the first recon is always to deny the tower, or like try to deny the tower. There are some openings where it's not possible, but they give up some income, but they take the tower. The job of the second recon is to make sure these 4 cities don't get captured by the end. Maybe they can get away with 1, but like never 2. Like that's the job of the second recon, right? And then if it sees nothing there, then maybe it can support the first recon attacking here. Maybe it can park in this forest and like see some of your builds, right? Like it can see, are you going lander? What are you going neo tank? Like what's your plan, right? And like these 2 recons coordinated well together will lock down this entire area for like up to turn 11, turn 12, right? And like they'll just be almost not completely uncontested, but almost uncontested enough. You'll know like there's tanks coming unless like they completely sack it. If they don't send tanks, then you're up tempo if they didn't go recon, because you stopped all their captures and like they have no idea what's happening, right? Your infantry are moving forward unopposed because like they're not scared, like they know everything that's happening around them, so they can just move forward like completely free, right? And you'll just be up so much tempo by doing this kind of opening. And then here I always take that attack because like I know for a fact like you can't have a tank here. The timing doesn't work out unless like you base skipped for a tank, which no one will do. Here, I think it's interesting. You went double air, anti-air, and like you're sending them to different sides. I guess like again, it was that thing like you're scared about Eagle,
Yeah.
having like mass copters or something.
Yeah.
Um,
And I will tell another story about PTSD from air units. There's that 900 player that is shockingly good for a 900, but mainly because he kinda surprise you sometime with a heavy battlecopter war. Like when I say heavy, man, you think you killed all of them, but suddenly you see another copter just showing up, and you're like, man, I thought I killed them all. Like there was that game. It lasted like 40 days. Just because he kept pushing freaking battlecopter into my new tanks. Oh my.
that reminds me a lot of like that reminds me a lot of Tordred style, right? Like Tordred will usually go like very no battlecopters, like almost no anti-air in game to mid game, and then suddenly mid game he's building a battlecopter every turn, and like you think like you've killed all of them, and then suddenly there are another like 3 coming to kill you, right? And like he'll just make it the point to like snipe all your anti-air, so like his copters will just get 3 damage every turn, and the nice thing about like that battlecopter strategy is you have +1 unit count, right? Because like you're always using your airport and like your 3 bases every turn. So even if like you trade evenly with your opponent, you're still technically better off because like you have an extra infantry that they don't, right? So like as long as you trade vehicles relatively evenly, you're still okay. The other thing I'll note about like why the second recon is important, not just to like because like there are 2 areas where you want to lock down. It's because like one of the counters to like single recon opening, right, is you just keep ferrying infantry in, right? Like you ferry 2 infantry in like every other turn, right? And then you just start capturing multiple cities at the same time. and the recon can only stop one at any given time, right? So like this is an idea of like overloading the recon, like making it so it has too many targets to hit that it can't stop all of them, and you're going to get some captures done, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, not like the super most efficient answer to the recon, but it is like certainly possible to do that, and like it is kind of hard for the recon to stop all of them, right? So that's the thing you're trying to avoid. With two recons, this is basically like almost impossible. You need more infantry than you can parry with one black bolt to like do that kind of strategy. So double recon shuts that option down. And then here, like, you know, my infantry are like still, my 3 infantry are like still capping super happily, like, oh, nothing's coming to hit us. Let's just go after like every city we can see, and we'll see like where the party stops. And you know, on the other side, like my recons are saying, oh, you know, there's no tank here yet. Let's keep partying. Like
That's
all these are
funny because at that point I knew I lost, but I still kept going. I was like, it's for content's sake. I will keep going even if I know I lost. And I think I even messaged you at that point. I was like, I know I lost, but hey, content.
Yeah, I remember that one. And yeah, like you can see, like it's just super brutal. So one thing about like the T-copter opening, I'm really proud of finding this one. um, let's actually like move back to the start of my turn, so people can see it again. So one infantry loads into the T-copter, and then it doesn't move the full 6 spaces, right? It loads on this city directly and unloads to the left. Then another infantry comes in and unloads to the right. And this is very important because the next turn, 2 of these infantry are going to load into this black bolt and then boost itself by like unloading 1 extra tile. And what that allows it to happen is like they get to this area 1 turn faster than they otherwise would because of like this little maneuver. So like that's very important if you're going to do the T-copter opening. Like actually like the entire T-copter opening that I invented was based entirely around like this interaction happening where they get to this area a turn faster than you'd expect, and this is like where the value comes from. But this is also why like the T-copter opening forces you to like open all vehicles on this side, because these cities are all like kind of contested. So if you don't like open all vehicles here and your opponent contests you, then the T-copter does not get value, right? Like we've talked before about how for the T-copter to be worth it, it needs to accelerate the capture of like 3 cities. So here are 4 cities that it can accelerate, but all of them are contestable. So if like you can't protect those captures, then like the T-copter is just bad. This is why like T-copter forces like tank commitment in this area.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you just keep killing your infantry. Like there's a single AA trying to stop me. I'm not scared of an anti-air. It does very pitiful damage, right? Like if that were a tank, that would probably be like 1 HP now. But anti-air does not really counter recon very well. Same with copters. Copters are like the worst against recon.
Yeah.
Copter will do like 4 damage, 5 damage. Like 4 if it's on the city, right? Like it's really, really horrible. So I've had games where like people try to counter recon with copter, and then my recons just, you know, they don't care. They just keep hitting because like the damage is too slow. It doesn't stop it in time. And then here, like I see, like, oh, you have a lot of infantry in this area. I was actually like quite surprised. Like you kept like sending infantry towards me. So now I'm just like, okay, now my artillery is here. Like maybe you walk your anti-air into range of it, and then that's pretty good for me. Obviously, like my artillery gets to be useful. And because like I realized like, oh, you are actually like, committing super hard here, infantry wise, right? I decided like, okay, I can send some more infantry down here. Maybe we can play more aggressively, and like it's an infantry war. In that case, like if I commit infantry here to like your infantry, we're stalemated. But since I'm winning this side, then economically I'll just be ahead.
Yeah.
And you know, like we said earlier, like you know, the income doesn't get any better for me for here. Right now it's 21k to like 18k after you finish 1 capture, right? And like you're not starting any new captures then, and like for a few more turns at least. So like this is just going to be true for like
at that point. At that point, I'm already
yeah,
far behind.
Yeah, at this point, like, maybe not completely lost, right? Like if you're a much stronger player, I'd still be like a bit worried. But I think from this position, it's just up to me to throw the game, and like if I play correctly, like I should always win.
Yeah.
So yeah, now here your anti-air like takes the recon hit, like you know it does what it can, but then artillery says hi, and then the AA has to like go home and cry because it can no longer fight copters. Especially like eagle copters with the defense, they'll hit you back really hard actually. And then yeah, like you can see, like I unloaded the infantry here, and like they immediately moved around. Now I'm immediately beginning all these captures. If you compare it to like your side, where you didn't do the city capture opening, your infantry are just walking. Right now you're just getting one city, and next turn you get maybe another one, and like these two cities are not under threat until for like another 3-4 turns, right? Me,
Yeah.
I'm immediately threatening to take 3 and then another one the next turn. This is where the T-copter's value is. And then like it'll just be constantly transporting infantry to the front anyway, like because like the infantry finds it hard to like get to this area. The T-copter is always nice in the mid game. Maybe you supplement it with like an APC later, because like the T-copter will run out of fuel, and like more transport is nice in the mid game, especially if you're winning here. So yeah, now we're just like spamming tanks. Like we just build as many tanks as we can, and we just run you over. Like it's a very simple game plan. It doesn't have to be very complicated.
At that point, I already lost. Even with a good winter free, there's no way I'm coming back.
Yeah, like versus Eagle, like you cannot give Eagle the income advantage, even as Olaf, right? Like
Yeah.
you're basically kind of even. And like the first AA was forced. The second one is not really necessary. You haven't seen any copters yet, anyway. You might as well like just get more tanks.
I'm paranoid. I'm telling you, I don't like copters.
But yeah, here you can see like this. You start seeing like a problem with your composition, right? Like you didn't like send all vehicles to one side. That's one issue, which means like you immediately lose the side where I have more vehicles. Like you just can't win the fight anymore. But you also have like a lot of infantry here, which my vehicles will target. On the other side, like you have like some infantry and some vehicles, but I have enough infantry to like check your infantry, right, and like slow down their captures. So like you're gonna find really hard to like equalize income on that side as well. And then here, like I think I deny your tower again, right? Like yeah. I find out like there's an anti-air there, so I just snipe that, then hit your infantry once, and then like suddenly my anti-air is in range, all my tanks are in range, and I can like now permanently deny your tower, and like my life becomes very easy. Because like without the tower, like you do less damage on first strike, which means my units get stronger for lightning strike. If I was playing as Andy, I would also be playing like this, because like as Andy, he actually really likes it when both players don't have a tower. Obviously, like if he has his tower, that's even better. But if the towers go completely neutral the whole game, that's fine for Andy, because it makes killing his units harder, and that means his superpower gets more value.
Yeah.
So one way to think about it is like generally COs who want to stall out the game prefer it if the towers go completely neutral both sides.
Yeah.
COs that want to attack want the towers to get captured quickly. So like attacks are stronger.
At that point, I was so salty, to be honest, and I was like, it's for content's sake. I want my tower. I want to give people good content.
I think like see your captures here actually. I think like it's more correct for you to capture my 2 cities rather than this neutral city.
You're right.
Because like then you're flipping the income 2k instead of 1k, right?
To my
because
defense,
2K...
I wasn't sure if you had an infantry on the forest.
Yeah, that's true, but like if there is an infantry in the forest, it can like still deny this.
You're right.
It's not as if then the AA kills it next turn, and you still capture both anyway, right? So like if there is an infantry, like it's the same either way. If there is no infantry, then you do a 4k flip instead of like a 3k flip. And then here, like you're starting to stream infantry north from this end to fight here. I think this is a mistake, because like you want to be like, you see that I'm pressuring your tower super hard. You have to be pressuring my tower somehow, right? And like you need infantry for that.
Yeah.
1 or 2 is not enough, because like I can just sack infantry into yours and run away, right? But if you have like 4 or 5 infantry, then I can't do that. I have to like commit to the fight. That means like your vehicles actually get damage done. They're not just sitting at staring at an empty field where they're seeing all these captured cities and then they can't do anything about it. Like that's the worst case scenario. So here, like you're still, I think, desperately trying to hold on to your tower. Like you're walling the best you can, but because like you've already lost so much units earlier on from like the double recon, you just don't have enough forward infantry, and like everything doesn't hold, right? Like the copter gets sniped, the tank kills the infantry, and then I think like I park something on the tower maybe. I just kill your tank. Oh, I park a recon on the city, and I'm like, okay, now you have to commit like something to kill this. You can't cap it immediately, so I'm just doing my best to like make your life as hard as possible. And oops, we went too fast. Yeah, it's a very simple game plan, right? Like we just keep building more tank, build more copter, build another AA because like this one is now exposed. Yes, it's on the city, but it might die. So we get another anti-air just in case, right? And at this point, like, oh, we have 7 tanks, 2 AA, 3 copters. We can start considering like maybe I get a neo tank now, I get a bomber. Like we can consider all these other options because like the funding is so high, this is all viable. Okay, so you do get like the kill on the infantry. It wasn't like that high of a luck roll, but it was still a luck roll. So pretty good. But still, like as we can see, right, like it doesn't matter. There's just so many vehicles coming in, and like because like you have 2 tanks and an AA here, and like plus the builds, right? Like there's basically no scenario where you can win this, right? Like even if you're Go 7, you cannot win this fight. There's just too many tanks. So this is what I
said. Go 7 if you're still around.
I mean, yeah, like what Go 7 would do here is like he'd abandon this front, move all his vehicles here, and kill me here, and like somehow he'll find some way to find counterplay. That's like the genius of him in Fog. But this is what I mean when I say like you play to win strategically, not tactically in Fog. What I mean is like if you have 5 tanks somewhere and they have 3 tanks or they have 2 tanks, they always lose that fight. It doesn't really matter about like the skill anymore, right? Like they just always lose. It's not possible. That's not how the game works. Like even Von Bolt into like I don't know, Grims can still like beat Von Bolt if he has 5 tanks to 2, right?
What?
So yeah. Here's the thing, right? Grim's hardest CO in tier 1 is not Von Bolt. This is what I've learned recently. It's Hawk. So the thing is, even if Von Bolt is sitting on a city, if Grim has his tower, he has 140 attack. That is enough to do a 2-hit KO on a Von Bolt tank on a city. So if I have 5 tanks and you have 2 Von Bolt tanks on a city, I still 2-hit KO you. And your counter attack damage it still hurts, but it's not the worst thing in the world. My tanks survive and they can heal up.
By the way, kantbei, I just wanted to say this. Go 7 is saying, "How dare you doubt me?"
Man, I love that guy, the Penguin Lord.
The Penguin God. We need to do another 2v2. We need to do another one.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try to like look for an interesting map.
No, because we are tier 1 Advanced Warrior.
Is it gonna be like is the plan like Advanced Warrior and you are on one team and then me and Go 7 are give you better COs?
By the way, Advanced Warrior is there as well.
Oh, nice. Hello, Advanced Warrior. So yeah, like here you finally get your Winter Fury, which hurts a little bit because like now weaker, but still like the game is still like strategically lost for you. And at this point, like I think I decided in my head like I'm gonna try to win this game without ever using Lightning Strike because I think like I'm just that far ahead. I can do that, and it'll make for better content. Because like if I kill you with like Lightning Strike, like everyone kind of like knew like obviously he won like day 7 like it was so clear he's already winning. It doesn't really matter. But if I kill you without like Lightning Strike, that at least makes it slightly harder for me. Like I have to play like a normal CO because like Eagle does not have like better tanks, right? So it's still like not trivial for him to like win this kind of position.
You're
with
doing
no
a flex now. You just control my tower, many tanks, about to get Lightning Strike, but not using it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you lose this, then you have an excuse. It's called throwing for content. This is what I learned from streamers. So never be afraid to throw for content.
Go 7 says, "I'm ready to see the Eagle power spam."
I actually like never popped like my COP here. I actually should have done that just for like the extra points, like because people never see it. Oops, I think we went too fast there. But yeah, like here, like I'm just repairing all of my vehicles. So I think like repairs are really strong on a map this big, which is why like I like picking Andy here in tier 3. Because like what will end up happening is you have a lot of units on the front line that are injured, but like since reinforcement distances take so long, it's actually better like if you keep them on the front line and repair them rather than like buying a new unit. Like I think that's a better use of your funds because like if you ever need them on the front line, like even if yes they're not fully healed yet, at least they can do something, right? But the tank here will always take like
Yeah,
so
you
yeah,
can keep going.
I'm preparing to move all of my tanks from this top side down into like straight into like where your tanks are. Cause like I only need to like leave a few vehicles left here in order to like protect my captures anyway. I don't need to like commit all these tanks here. So now like your only counterplay left is you push on this side, right? Like your vehicles and like your infantry and whatever else you have. You try to like either win back a tower or income, right? And like try to equalize that way. For me, like the answer for me, right, is very simple. I just match your vehicles where your vehicles are going with my vehicles to check them, make sure you can make forward progress, while at the same time like doing these captures. So like you're putting you on a timer basically, where you have to do more damage than I'm doing on the other side fast enough. Otherwise, like the game's over. I mean, like the game's already like pretty hard for you, right? But if I'm gonna play like no lightning strike eagle, that's how like I can close out the game. And then like yeah, and now I'm just like okay, I'm gonna take your tower. So I have two towers, and maybe if I lose my other tower, like at least I have still one tower, right? Like it's still an even game. And then now I just get a bomber. No real point to it. Like it's because I already have a neo tank. So at this point, like if you look at my composition, I already have like 9 tanks. I have like two copters, not that many. It's an okay amount. I have like two AA, so it's like a fairly well balanced army. At this point in the game, if you got here comfortably, you want to start thinking about like what are the potential punishes like to my army, right? So the big one for mine is if you start spamming MDs or Neos, I don't really have a good answer. So Neo and Bomber answer that, right? The next
Yeah.
thing I should probably be considering is, okay, what if he has a Bomber or a Stealth? And I should probably be getting like a Fighter fairly soon, right? Like these, like slowly, I'm taking away all of your possible options to get counterplay against me with like a surprise build. Oh yeah, also Bomber like answers like a B ship build here, right? Which is like how you can slow down my captures. So by like having like a well-rounded army, then I can just shut down all of your options to get back in the game, and I can close it out that way, right? So like you don't just spam tanks after a certain point. You have to start thinking about what are the potential ways my opponent can like win the game, like from this position. Like how can they get back in the game, and how do I take those options away from them? So if you do this like every game, like you will win a lot of games. Then here, like you start committing like a lot of desperate attacks against my center army, which you shouldn't be doing, but I get it. Like at this point, like you feel you've already lost, you have to try something, right? Um, but yeah, like for if you, like you want to like if you're trying like super hard to win, you should never do these kinds of attacks where like you only have some vehicles into an area where I have like most of my vehicles are, because that just means all of your vehicles that committed to the first attack die. And because like your other vehicles are so far back, they can't like punish what I killed with, right?
Yeah.
Also, like your tanks staying here is not very good. Like they should either be pushing here or pushing here, but they should never just be staying still somewhere, unless like you're afraid there are tanks here. But I think like you can be fairly sure like I don't have tanks here because of like what you've seen here. Although I guess like maybe you were scared of lightning strike because I didn't tell you I was gonna try to win without lightning strike. So maybe like you were just respecting that and like staying behind.
I was
But yeah, like
actually
now.
scared. I didn't understood why you were not using lightning strike. I was like, my, I'm scared.
Well, yeah. So here's the other thing, right? Like, if Eagle does not have to use lightning strike, he shouldn't use lightning strike. This is something like I've been telling a lot of like people who ask me for advice playing Eagle, because like too often what Eagle players will do is, oh, I have lightning strike, I'm gonna use it immediately, right? And like it turns
Yeah.
out there's not enough to hit, and like they throw the game that way. Whereas if you're Eagle, like one of your strongest plays actually, if your opponent never forces you to lightning strike, just build 50 tanks, right? Or build like 50 bombers, something like that, right? And then what do they do? Like everything dies to like 50 bombers, right? Or like get like as many vehicles as you want. And like the moment if they commit like a few units and they just die and there's no punish, then you don't have to use lightning strike. That's just called free units, right? Like that's free units, right? And if you take a city and they don't punish you, then you have free cities, right? Like you're just eating income. If they do try to attack you and they commit like too few vehicles, you just kill those vehicles and capture again, right? Like you just keep repeating that. And the moment they commit too many vehicles, that's when you see, oh, okay, so this is the lightning strike that wins me the game. Then you just use it then, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the easiest way for you to win as Eagle. So the first lightning strike is very important. You never want to waste it. It's okay as Eagle. It's perfectly okay to just hold it, right? And like not use it. And you will win a lot of fog games this way. So the counterplay to this is opponents have to be able to force Eagle to use the first lightning strike. They cannot allow Eagle to do this. If Eagle does this, he's winning. Right?
Yeah.
It's very easily winning. Then here, like you try to like make some movements happening, but again, like your army is just so split up. I guess like just very scared of like the lightning strike.
I'm like,
Oops,
what does he have in his sleeves?
You suddenly see like 10 stealths coming out of nowhere, and then it's just PTSD. Yeah, here I think I'm just like content to repair at this point because like I have a lot of weak.
Advanced Warrior, man, best meme ever. What does Lightning Strike do again? I always use it, but nothing happens to my units. I hope so, Advanced Warrior.
Oops. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to go through that turn specifically. Like, it's just like me, like, killing some of like your like, we just keep repeating this process for the rest of the game, I believe. Like, I capture something, you commit some vehicles, I kill those vehicles, and I move forward again.
My
like, we just
art,
keep
my art earned buildings.
Yeah. And this is actually like I think the first time you actually like have any kind of like income advantage against me in the entire game. But you're also down like 40k units. After like after like 2 Winter Furies, you're still down 40,000, and I still haven't used my lightning strike. And like the unit count is still like so bad for you. It's an awful position to play from.
At that point, I know I lost, but hey, let's have that Neo.
I mean, it's a decent response, right? Like you can't just let the Neo go unanswered. And I think like Neo is your best option here because. So we can go into like a bit of the theory, right? Like how do you answer a Neo tank or like a tank?
Neo tank.
There are a couple of different ways. Artillery is like the easiest one, right? The problem with artillery is like if you have less tanks, they're not good. Your artillery, you have less tanks or like unit count in general, which is true here. Artillery are not good against heavy tanks, right?
Yeah.
You can get a bomber, but a problem with the bomber is like if they have more tanks than you, then you can't hunt down their anti-air. You don't have enough tanks to get their anti-air. The anti-air kills your bomber, and then it's still bad, right?
Yeah.
Final options like you get your own Neo tank, and for you like this is the simplest and like the best option, right?
I think battlecopter can also be a fast response because they are faster than artillery, but they are not really great. But they are good to like slow down the Neo tank instead of just letting the Neo tank go crazy.
Yeah, it also kind of depends on like do you have enough tanks to like hunt down the AA, right? So like if I guess like if 2 copters hit the Neo tank and it's like not sitting on like a forest or something better, it will bring it down to 5. The problem is like the Neo can go repair, right? And then like if both copters die, then you still have no answer. So that's kind of like problematic. There are cases where like copter is enough, but I wouldn't like reliably rely on a copter to answer Neo tank, especially in this kind of board state where there are so many vehicles around. Like for sure there is anti-air. it's not even clear that you can get 2 attacks on the Neo tank. Like usually there will be
Usually,
stuff
when
around the
there's
Neo
that
tank. You have
board
to kill.
state, someone resign. That's funny because I currently play that game where my opponent doesn't want to resign, and he had like the economy lead for most of the game, but his unit count was kind of trash, so I was able to like kill off what he had and then steal back the buildings, and I came back and now I have better unit count and better economy, and now the guy doesn't resign, and I'm like, dude, I control like 65% of the map, I have almost twice your income, you should just like resign. And he just doesn't want to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, some people will play to like the bitter end. In those kinds of games, you just like have to learn to close it up cleanly. Here you get a fighter. I think it's reasonable because like maybe you're suspecting a bomber or a stealth, and like
Yeah.
it's eagle. Like you kind of just need it. Like but again, like everything wins for me at this point. So it's not
I
like
have the
it's super
stealth PTSD. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah. And then here, like I think this is close to over, right? Like
I
if
think
you
I
resign
resigned
this
day
turn,
22. 21.
okay, so say a
22
couple
or
more turns.
21.
Yeah, but I guess like the most instructive thing about this part of the game is like it's just showing people like how do you close out the game against someone who just like suicides, like doesn't resign, like suicides stuff into you. You just keep doing this, right? Like you just keep capping stuff. You play very patiently. If they keep giving you free material, then you can win even without lightning strike against an Olaf. Like it's that good. um, so there are a lot of scenarios where this is actually true that the power actually doesn't matter. It's like what you did everything before the power that decides the game. So, just playing very patiently. Here, I also like start base skipping. This is no longer a war crime. I'm gonna explain because you can only build 50 units, right? At this point in the game, like I have 22 infantry, 20 to about 25 infantry is like the sweet spot for me. Like you don't really want more than that because like you want vehicles. I already have like enough tanks. I don't need more tanks. So what do I want? Like, do I want another bomb? Not really, because like two bombers are not better than one bomber. Not really. Do I want more tanks? I have enough tanks. Do I want more anti-air? Maybe, but I'm Eagle and like, I have like the tank advantage. I think my anti-airs are enough. 3 is fine, right? So what else can I do with my money? Get a battleship? I don't need a battleship because like, what is it gonna hit, right?
Biggest
So I just
flex,
like, okay,
battleship.
yeah. So like the only other options, right, is like I either get a Neo tank or I do something fully meme. I build a lander and then like a mega tank next turn, and I move the mega tank onto like, your side of the map and like watch what you do to it. But everything is like winning at this point. But Neo tank is like the best build in my opinion for this reason.
I'm about to hit the unit cap in my game. The guy doesn't want to resign. And he has like 10 units. Maybe 12.
I mean, what you can do in that situation for like the flex point is just like route him, right? Like you don't win by like capturing each unit. You just run down his bases.
Or
just
by
for
the
fun of
capture,
it.
because there's the capture rule. I'm about to make the capture rule. I think I'm like 1 or 2 buildings short, and I'm done with the capture rule. And that's funny, speaking about route, I played this game a few days ago. Another one that didn't want to resign. I actually won by route.
That's interesting. I think like I've only ever won by route once
Lovely
ever.
route, bruh. I was able to lock his airport at his base. I was like, that guy is done.
Okay, so in this position you resign, I think like it's fairly reasonable, right? Like there's really nothing else you can do. Like if your opponent has 2 or 3 Winter Furies and like they're still clearly winning and like they're just not using their lightning strike, then I think like it's a fairly reasonable resign. There's nothing you can really do against them unless like they throw super hard.
Or unless you skip like your next 2 or 3 turns to let me come back.
Yeah,
But
if I skip like
even if you don't move for like 3 turns, there's no way I'm beating that dead ball.
I mean, if I skip for 3 turns, you have some like the game's even again because I gave you 3 like. But yeah, like I'm done. Give you 3 lightning strikes, the game's just in any scenario like 1 lightning strike should be like winning.
Man, is there any closing thoughts or stuff you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I will say like I think people should try to like this build is obviously very good. I think people should experiment though with like the lander opening I talked about. I think that has a lot of potential, but again, it's really unexplored. Um, and yeah, like keep in mind like having a good composition will usually like win you most games. You don't have to be too fancy about it, right? Like build tank AA copter and like infantry, and then when you have enough of those, then just get neo tanks and bombers, and you play patiently, close out the game. It's really simple, but so many players don't understand this. But this is like a very like almost simple way. Like, how do you get to like 1200 in fog? You just do this every game.
That's interesting. And another closing thoughts I would like to add, guys. If you know you don't have the economy or the unit count, resign. Don't be like me right now. Just resign. It's better for everyone. Anyway, thank you a lot for coming. It's always amazing having you around. I enjoyed my time, even if I knew I lost. I knew I would learn a lot from it, and I did. I actually realized my opening was kind of shit. Don't capture that building first, rush toward these, and there's only one way to open this map. Rickons! Because Rickons are ridiculous sometimes. Hell yeah. So, anything else to add?
No, I'm all good on my end.
Thank you very much again, man. I enjoyed my time. We will play more for sure if you are into it. Just take a look to our party chat or something. Advanced Warrior has some ideas I kinda like. So, anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. All the good stuff. See you next time.